Hi again, guys. It's me, of course, as always, and as usual, Moino Wavenberg. I'll be covering another entity, as you can see from the Heptarchia Mystica. Um, yeah, and it is one of the Saturday entities by the name of Brorges, Prince Brorges. And as you can see, it's spelled Brorges. It's pronounced Brorges, the way I'm saying it, obviously. Now, there are two spirits mentioned. The first one is called King Benapsen. That's spelled Bnapsen, and Brorges is essentially a subservient spirit or a spirit that falls under the King Benapsen. These are the only two entities that are mentioned in the Heptarchia Mystica under thingy under Saturday. So they're Saturnian spirits in the simplest, most conventional of ways stated. Now, let's get down to business. There is no real specific description given in terms of skill set, but anyways, Prince Brorges, who being the prince, chief minister, and governor under the right Pusant Benapsen, bids the Myseer appear in the most terrible manner with fiery flaming streams, and saith, and this is in Latin, "Nau ianua mortis et percussit gloria Dei imporium parietis," therefore in the name, etc. Now, and when you translate this, it generally speaking translates to, "I knew the door of death, and the glory of God struck the walls of the wicked." So yeah, that gives you, generally speaking, to the average person who would say it's like a vague indicator of skill set or anything like that. So yeah, now let's go over all of it. Let me start with appearance first. As you saw in the thumbnail of this video, this is how Brocious, generally speaking, appears. A black demoness-like figure, quite scary and intimidating to, for example, the average individual with the energy to match. Um, I'll get to his skill set in a second and you'll understand. Let me just state that prior to even literally just thinking about King Benapsen and Prince Brorges, but specifically my eye falling on Brorges because I was intrigued by his appearance and whatnot and the description in terms of what he told the person that is giving a description in the Heptarchia Mystica. Essentially, based on this, is like, I can't remember, it was John D or something. In any case, I can't remember. In any case, the person that was working with the Heptarchia Mystica, the seer, as he said, so that means they worked in a pair of two. One person was summoning and the other one was just purely scrying. Said that that's how Brorges appeared. And yeah, is indeed pretty much quite a scary and intimidating look to the average person, scary and intimidating. And the message. I'll get to the message in a second, which, like I said, is a hint to his specialty. But I need to state that, again, in terms of what I said with the energy to match, my energy allowed a couple of interesting, very superficial things to happen that are indicative of his skill set, but things that posed no real imposition to me, just plain no imposition. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up. Um, I noticed that the second after I briefly just like focused on these two, and I said to myself, I'll summon in a second or in a minute or so. When I reached out to grab like a Coke out of my refrigerator, for some reason it slipped out of my hand and it like fell onto the floor, and I had to like briefly clean it up. Again, not a big deal, not a deal even. It's not a big deal, but immediately I noticed it. I was like, because I could sense it. I was like, oh, this is because I focused on Brorges, isn't it? Okay. And then secondly, software that I was using on my computer also briefly crashed. Now, it hasn't done that. I mean, it has done that before, but not in this specific way. You can tell that it's not a coincidence. And I was like, okay, fine. Let me just take like extra measures just to be on the safe side, and then we're good. Now, anyways, I'm going to explain what is meant by the part in Latin. Ah, I knew the door of death and the glory of God struck the walls of the wicked. Simply stands for essentially being familiar with the gateway that leads to destruction in a figurative sense. So someone's destruction. And the second part is about essentially punishing the wicked. So punishing anyone that deserves to be punished righteously and justifiably and whatnot. Now, that being said, just like the other spirits from the Heptarchia Mystica, they fall under Lord Oriel, the Archangel Uriel. And Brorges is a celestial spirit just like the rest. Um, and unsurprisingly, he's anything but the only Saturnian spirit that has such a demeanor about him. And yeah, now let's get down to the skill set. So unsurprisingly, based on everything, Brorges deals in destruction. Brorges deals in carrying out destruction towards someone, essentially destroying others, destroying enemies and whatnot. And when it comes to detail, Brorges will do so applicable to daily life, um, encompassing everything that makes up daily life. I repeat, encompassing everything that makes up daily life. Notable examples being when it comes to hygiene, when it comes to finances, and when it comes to self-sufficiency, mainly within the household. So anything that you would consider a household, doesn't matter whether you have a family or not. Bottom line is that essentially, if someone summoned Brorges and told him to destroy you on their behalf, and you deserve it and whatnot, then yeah, Brorges would essentially make it so that you would become poor, bluntly put, to the point where you would just outright want to, or I mean, succumb to the criminal activity in the form of fraud and whatnot, scheming activity. Hygiene would drop. You would stop taking care of yourself and being attentive and whatnot, with all the negative consequences that follow, and your overall ability to take care of yourself would be undermined, thereby seriously putting you in danger of outright becoming homeless. Every aspect of daily life would pretty much be affected. Brorches, something quite interesting as well is that he works across a large spectrum in the sense that multiple people or multiple targets would, in such a case, be able to be pinpointed. So he would be able to target multiple people on an operator's behalf, but he would do so in a very frugal, cautious, and passive way. Essentially, again, keyword is selectiveness or pickiness, if you will. So he's not just going to stand for someone just going like, oh, okay, I want this and this and this and this and that. He'll go through everything as in, hey, what exactly do you want? What exactly is the deal with the target A? As in, Brorches, I have 5 targets for you to destroy, and he's gonna go by it point by point, or he's going to make it clear that he wants that. So not just leaving anything to chance or otherwise, or simply he's not going to stand, hypothetically speaking, for not doing things in a well-rounded way or a well-rounded manner. It's about actually knowing exactly what needs to be done and whom it needs to be done to, in a manner of speaking, having everything lined out, and then he'll simply get to work. Um, in the aforementionedly described manner. And his voice is typical demonic sounding and looking. I mean, demonic sounding, just like his appearance. And for the rest, he's normal, like respectful and whatnot. But like I said, his energy is quite intimidating. So I would advise anyone. I'm not gonna say don't summon him, but just be sure that you, point one, you're prepared. Point two, you know what you're doing, and point three, you you're an experienced practitioner by thing, by nature, or just at your given stage in your practice and whatnot, with the power level to match. That's all. Bye.